Hey y'all, it's your girl, Hope Your TV Movie Bestie, and I watch good shit, and I just got done watching this week's episode of Widow's Bay. Everybody's coming to Widow's Bay. Tourists are flocking. Tom, he's so proud. He's driving around through town, and he sees this lady, and she appears to be lost, and she's just walking. He says, hey, can I help you? And she's like, oh yeah, my name is Marissa. I'm here with a bunch of my friends. We're here for a bachelorette party and I got lost. So he's like, okay, I'll help you. So he gives her a ride and he tells her about the inaugural swim because she says, if I lived here, I would go to the beach every day. And he said, oh, well, you should come to the inaugural swim. And she said, what is that? And he said, well, I just basically get in the water and go for a quick swim and I open up the ocean. And it's also to demonstrate that the water's fine and, any stories that you've heard, they're not true. And I'm thinking, that ain't right. And so she's like, oh, okay, I'll think about it. We meet Evan again, who is Tom's son. We're starting to really learn a lot about Evan. Evan is clearly like a prankster. He's always doing something he ain't got no business doing. He changed one of the street signs, changed the name, and that's why she was lost. We watching out for Evan. Evan up to something at all times. This night, Tom is driving. He sees this lady on the side of the road. He goes over and he attempts to help her. And I'm like, Tom, it looked like the middle of the night and this lady looked like she's crazy. She looked like she got on a nightgown. When he goes over to try to help her, she starts running fast as hell towards him. And he's like, oh no. So he take off in the car, drive away. So then he gets somewhere, he slows down, and he starts looking around like, where's she at? Where's she at? So he don't see nobody. Next thing you know, somebody grabs his arm, this old decrepit hand, and scratches him. And so he take off in the car. Next day, he called the sheriff, and he's like, look, I think it's probably just a homeless woman. And he said, but you need to check the mental hospital because she might have escaped and got a free ride on the ferry. And so I'm like, that lady did not look homeless. She looked dead. She didn't look like she was on this side of the world. So he go get his arm checked off because it won't stop bleeding. Doctor is like, what happened here? And he's like, oh, I got a scratch. And so he said, yeah, you probably shouldn't go swimming in this. He's like, you want to keep this out of water, let it heal up. And gets back to the office. And everybody notices the scratch on his arm. And they're like, what happened to you, Tom? And he said, oh, I got scratched last night. It's fine. So one of the ladies in the office, she said, She said, that sounds like the SEA HAG. And he's like, what? What now? And she said, well, the SEA HAG, she targets sailors. And she followed them around and then she scratches them and she gets some of their skin under her nails so that she can follow them around like a bloodhound. She waits until they get alone, by themselves, vulnerable, and she attacks them. And Tom's just like, okay, here we go with these stories again. Tom, he goes for the inaugural swim, does a little speech, and so he swims out to the buoy and he's like, all right, see, everything's fine, all right. The ocean is open. He's just looking around and he sees the lady's head, the same lady that was out that night. And he's like, oh shit. So he starts swimming just as fast as he can back to the shore. And so he keeps looking back and it looked like the lady is gaining on him. And he's like, oh my gosh. And so it seems like she grabs him underwater. So he finally makes it back to the shore. He flopping around. And so the sheriff is like, Tom, it's okay. Get on out the water. So he's like, okay. And so he looks down at his leg and he's got a cut on his leg. Tom, he goes and he visits Wick. And so he's like, Wick, do you know about like an old lady in town who scratches you? And he said, oh, you talking about the SEA HAG? He said, yeah, everybody know that story, Tom. So he said, Tom, she got you. And, Tom's like, because he still is like, I don't believe all these things. And I'm like, Tom, too many things have happened to you. This town ain't right. So Wick is like, yeah, you need to go ahead and lock yourself in a chest for 72 hours and let that wound heal. And Tom's like, do what now? And he said, yeah, because once the wound heals, then she's not able to track you. And he said, but if you stay out, she gonna track you and she gonna kill you. The wound, it paralyzes you eventually. He said, by the end of the day, you ain't gonna be able to do nothing. He's like, yeah, you need to go on and get in that chest and lock yourself in. Tom's like, okay, thanks. I came here for help and this is what I got. All right, Wick, I'll see you later. Tom gets home, he's tending to his wounds, and Evan on punishment, and he got a gang of friends over at the house. What kind of punishment you on, Evan? Tom is like, what are these people doing over here? And he's like, oh, we just hanging out. And so he said, look, one of my friends is having a sleepover tonight. You know, can I go? Evan, you on punishment. You supposed to be in the house. Tom is like, Evan, are you really gonna go? Or are you just gonna say you went, tell their parents that they staying over here and y'all gonna go out and do whatever? And Evan's like, nah, Dad, we trust one another. Like, I'm gonna just go to the slumber party. And I'm thinking, Evan, you look about, I don't know, 17. What kind of slumber parties you doing at that age? And as a boy, Tom's like, okay, Evan, yeah, you can go to the slumber party. Evan tells him that somebody named Marissa had called and said she's at the diner, and if he's available, he can swing by. One of the friends is like, okay, who that is? You got a boo? And he's like, she's just a friend. So he goes to the diner, and Marissa is the lady he picked up earlier. They have a little date, and it's nice. They have a good time. They're hanging out. And she's like, can I come over? Ma'am, like, you just met me. He's like, to my house? And he said, oh, no, tonight ain't good. She's like, I'm sorry. I don't know why I just invited myself over to your house. And she's like, it's okay. It's fine. He's like, matter of fact, I'm supposed to be at something else right now. She's like, okay, that's fine. He's supposed to go to this cocktails at sunset, but he decides not to. And so he just skips it. He goes on home. Evan is out in the woods or something, in a parking lot maybe. And he's just hanging out with his friends. They smoking and doing whatever. The priest, now, he's dealing with this the church bell is ringing and it's locked up and chained up, not supposed to be ringing at all. So he wandering around in the woods at night, black night, and he comes upon this well. And it's like, what is this? So we don't know what he does with that well, but later we see him. He's coming out the woods, and he is where Evan and all his friends are, and he's just like, evil is here. And I said, oh, Lord, something going on with this priest. Tom, he gets back to his house, and he's listening to his voicemails, like, on the answer machine. I said, boy, this is throwback town. One of the messages from Wick, and Wick is like, Tom, you got to be careful, because if the old hag ain't in your house, she gonna find a way in. Tom, he notices that he's starting to get real tired, like, very lethargic. I said, you finna be paralyzed. And his arm bleeding again. And so he's like, doggone it. He's trying to get himself together, and he hears a knock on the door. And he like, oh, who is that? So he said, hello? Someone responds, a woman, and she said, hey, it's me. So it's Marissa. And Tom is like, that ain't Marissa. And I'm like, okay, Tom, because, most people in this situation just go and open up the door. And I said, y'all have never seen Sinners. You're not on this show. Like, we don't open up doors to folks we ain't expecting to be at our house. So I said, good job, Tom. And so he's like, Marissa? And she's like, yeah. And he said, how you know where I live? And she said, one of the people at your office told me. And he's like, I find it odd that I ain't met none of your friends, because she said she here for a bachelorette party. And he said, nobody in town is talking about a bachelorette party. And she's like, okay, well, you can meet them tomorrow if you want to. And she's like, are you gonna let me in? And I'm thinking, hell no. Tom said, I know who you are. And she's like, do what now? And he's like, She walks away. He goes and he puts a chair under the door to, block it. And so then we see outside, and it really is Marissa. She gets on in a taxi, and I said, Marissa, tonight is not the night, girl. We don't have time to play games. Like, he told you don't come over. I don't know why you came over in the first place. And we looking for the SEA HAG. So no, ma'am, you're not getting in the house. After he put the chair under the door, he sit in the living room, and he got a bat, and he just like, what's up? I'm ready. Not 5 minutes after Tom sit in this chair with this bat, he done dozed off to sleep. I said, Tom, damn it. He wakes up and he sees his wife, who is dead, might I add, and she hand him a cup of tea. And he talking about something, oh, I thought you had to go to work. And she said, oh, no, I haven't left yet. She said, what's wrong with you? Why are you so groggy? He said, I don't know. And so she said, well, drink this tea. And he said, okay, thank you. So he get ready to drink the tea. But he puts it down and he looks down and here go the SEA HAG. And so she crawling up, just straight up like out the ring, the lady coming out the TV. Y'all remember that? So she crawling up him all on Tom, and Tom just kind of like, because he's so out of it now, he can barely move. And so she just all on Tom. And I said, well, she just gonna kill him? So Tom, he's in a reclining chair. So he reaches down on the side and he let the chair out and she go flying back. And then Tom, he just crawling across the floor because he can't move now. He makes it to the bathroom and he gets in the bathtub and pull the shower curtains around him. And I'm thinking, okay, Tom, but she ain't dead. Like, she can still come in there and get you. So, absolutely, she come on in the shower and she's climbing on the bathtub and she opening up the thing, trying to get in the bathtub with him. And next thing we know, we hear, hey! And she turned around and it's Wick. And Wick got a shotgun. He said, boom! And so she explodes in this black goo everywhere. And Tom is just like, oh, thank you. And he's like, why is all this happening? And Wick said, I don't know. You just survive it. While they in there talking and shooting the SEA HAG, the phone is ringing in the background. So it just ring. Of course, nobody answers it. So it's the priest. And he ends up leaving a message. And he says, Tom, I heard it. Talking about the church bells. And you can hear the church bells in the background ringing at the moment. He's like, I'm so sorry, Tom. God forgive me. And they end with that. And then we see this radio. And there's a message from the cop, the sheriff. And he's like, calling all available firemen. Get down here. He's like, I don't know what's going on, but everybody come on down. And I'm like, what's happening now? And the episode goes off like that. So, as we are now in episode 3, I am really starting to like Widow's Bay. I really do enjoy the little comedy from the other characters. They are all crazy. And I'm like, are they crazy or this town done made them crazy? But anyway, I like other characters that provide comic relief. And the story is, I'm like, what's really going on here in this town? Not so much what's going on, but like, how are they going to survive? And is whatever in the town trying to kill them? Or, like, where are we going with this? So I'm really liking the show. I'm definitely going to keep watching. Let me know your thoughts after watching 3 episodes. Are y'all still in? You think it's a go? I'm your TV movie bestie. I'm on all the socials. Like, subscribe, and follow. And I will see y'all on the next show on the next episode. Bye, besties.